The Fall of the Valoran, Part 1, The Last Stand. The crimson sky above Vora Prime blazed with the fires of war, a stark contrast to the peaceful blue that had graced this world for millennia. Admiral Zaras stood motionless on the bridge of the VSSS Starbreaker, her compound eyes reflecting the chaos unfolding before her. The Valoran fleet, once the pride of the Orion Arm, now seemed insignificant against the overwhelming force that had descended upon their homeworld. "Status report," Zaras commanded, her mandibles clicking with barely contained frustration. The tactical displays surrounding her painted a grim picture, but she needed to hear it voiced. Commander KR, her second in command, stepped forward, his antenna drooping with the weight of his words. "The orbital defense grid is at 30% capacity and falling rapidly, Admiral. Ground-based ion cannons are engaging, but..." He paused, his exoskeleton creaking with tension. "They're barely making a dent in their shields." Zaras watched as another Valoran cruiser erupted in a brilliant explosion, its debris joining the growing field of wreckage orbiting their once pristine world. This was no mere border skirmish or pirate raid, this was extinction-level warfare, and the Valoran had been caught completely unprepared. The ship's AI chimed in with its artificially calm voice. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority transmission from the surface. It's High Chancellor Vex." "Put him through," Zaras ordered, straightening her posture despite the exhaustion seeping into her joints. The holographic image of High Chancellor Vex materialized before her, and Zaras felt her heart sink. The usually regal leader of the Valoran people looked broken, his normally vibrant blue carapace now a dull gray. Scorch marks and debris were visible in the background of his transmission. "Admiral Zaras," Vex began, his voice trembling but maintaining a shadow of its former authority. "The situation on the ground is beyond critical. Our cities are falling one by one. The enemy..." He paused, mandibles clicking in distress. "They're not just destroying our military installations. They're systematically eradicating everything. Our archives, our seed vaults, our cultural centers, everything that makes us Valoran." Zaras stepped closer to the hologram. "High Chancellor, we still have ships. We can evacuate as many as possible, find a new home." "No, Admiral," Vex cut her off with a wave of his upper limb. "Our people will stand and fight to the last, but there is something more important you must do." He leaned closer to the camera, his compound eyes glistening with what Zaras realized were tears, a sight she had never witnessed in all her years of service. "You must go to Earth." The request caught Zaras off guard. Earth, the home of humanity, was a relatively new player on the galactic stage. The Valoran had formed an alliance with them just a few decades ago, finding kindred spirits in the curious and adaptable species. But now, with their civilization on the brink of annihilation, why Earth? "Earth?" Zaras questioned. "But High Chancellor, surely the Galactic Council." "The Council has abandoned us." Vex spat, bitterness evident in his voice. "They fear our attackers more than they value our alliance. But humans are different. They understand loyalty, Admiral. They understand justice." He paused, composing himself. "Go to them. Tell them what has happened here. And..." His voice softened. "Ask them to remember us." The communication cut off abruptly, leaving Zaras staring at empty space. Around her, the bridge crew looked to her for direction, their antennae twitching nervously. Commander KR stepped forward. "Admiral, enemy forces are pushing through the last line of defense. We need to make a decision." Zaras straightened her posture, her decision made. "Plot a course for the Sol system," she commanded. "Maximum speed. And prepare a complete data package of everything we know about this attack. The humans need to know what they're up against." As the Starbreaker disengaged from the losing battle and prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, Zaras took one last look at her homeworld. The beautiful blue-green orb was now marred by angry red scars of destruction. She silently vowed that this would not be the end of the Valoran people, not if she had anything to say about it. The ship shuddered as it entered FTL, leaving behind the chaos and destruction. Zaras knew that the journey to Earth would take time during which her people would be fighting and dying. But she also knew that if there was any hope for the Valoran, it lay with humanity. As the stars streaked by outside the viewports, Zaras allowed herself a moment of reflection. The humans were young, brash, and often unpredictable, but they were also fierce, loyal, and possessed an ingenuity that often surprised their older galactic neighbors. If anyone could help the Valoran in their darkest hour, it would be them. "Hold on, my people," Zaras whispered to herself as the Star Breaker hurtled through space towards Earth. "Help is coming." Little did Admiral Zaras know that her arrival on Earth would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The humans, with their unique blend of compassion and fury, were about to remind the Galactic Council and the mysterious attackers why it was never wise to underestimate the determination of a species fighting for its friends. As the Star Breaker raced towards Earth, carrying with it the last hope of the Valoran people, the stage was set for a conflict that would redefine the balance of power in the galaxy. The fall of the Valoran was just the beginning. The Fall of the Valoran, Part 2, Earth's Response. The Sol system buzzed with unprecedented activity as news of the Valorans' plight spread like wildfire. Admiral Zaras's arrival in Earth orbit had set off a chain reaction that reverberated through every level of human society, from the highest echelons of government to the bustling streets of Mars's domed cities. In the heart of New Geneva, the United Earth government convened an emergency session. The circular chamber, usually a place of measured debate and careful diplomacy, now crackled with tension and urgency. At the center stood Fleet Admiral Helena Chen, her weathered face a mask of determination as she addressed the assembled representatives. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chen began, her voice carrying the weight of countless battles, "the situation is clear. The Valoran, our allies and friends, have been betrayed by the very institution that was meant to protect them. The Galactic Council's inaction is not just a failure of duty, it's a direct threat to humanity's future in this galaxy." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some nodded in agreement, while others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The implications of Chen's words were not lost on anyone present. "Admiral," a representative from the African Union spoke up, "while the plight of the Valoran is tragic, surely we must consider the risks of direct intervention." "The Galactic Council." "The Galactic Council," Chen cut in, her eyes flashing, "has shown its true colors. They abandoned the Valoran to their fate. What's to stop them from doing the same to us when our time comes?" Silence fell over the chamber as the weight of her words sank in. It was broken by the calm, measured voice of Dr. Aisha Patel, Earth's foremost xenoanthropologist. "If I may," she said, rising from her seat, "I'd like to remind everyone of something crucial. The Valoran were among the first to welcome us into the galactic community. When others saw us as upstarts or potential threats, the Valoran saw potential allies. They shared knowledge, resources, and friendship. We owe them more than just our sympathy." Her words seemed to resonate with many in the chamber. Heads nodded, and a renewed sense of purpose filled the air. But it was the next speaker who would truly galvanize the assembly. Captain Marcus Jansen, a decorated veteran of the Proxima Centauri conflict, stepped forward. His cybernetic eye whirred as he surveyed the room. "I fought alongside Valoran troops," he said, his voice gruff but clear. "I've seen their bravery, their dedication. Hell, I owe my life to a Valoran medic who pulled me out of a collapsing bunker. Are we really going to sit here and debate while an entire civilization, our friends, are being wiped out?" A chorus of voices rose in agreement, but it was quickly tempered by the pragmatic concerns of others. Resources, military readiness, potential retaliation from the Council or the unknown aggressors, all were valid points that couldn't be ignored. As the debate raged on, a message flashed across the chamber's main display. It was from the Star Breaker, still in orbit. Admiral Zaras had transmitted a complete data package on the attack on Vora Prime. The chamber fell silent as footage of the devastation played out before them. Cities reduced to rubble, forests burned to ash, and through it all, the indomitable spirit of the Valoran people as they fought against impossible odds. The final image was of High Chancellor Vex, his last transmission to the Star Breaker before communications were cut off. "Remember us," his words echoed through the chamber, "and know that we believed in you until the end." The silence that followed was deafening. It was broken by Fleet Admiral Chen, who stepped forward once more. "We have a choice to make," she said, her voice steady and resolved. "We can hide behind protocol and political maneuvering, or we can stand up for what's right. The Valoran need us, and one day, we might need them. I say we act now." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, but it was clear that the tide had turned. One by one, representatives stood, voicing their support for immediate action. It wasn't unanimous, but it was enough. As the session concluded, orders were already being transmitted across the Sol system. Shipyards kicked into overdrive, weapons factories ramped up production, and military personnel were recalled from leave. Earth was going to war. Aboard the orbital defense platform Olympus, Captain Lila Ortiz watched as the first wave of reinforcements arrived from Mars and the Jovian moons. Her comm chirped with a priority message: she was being reassigned to lead a task force. Their mission: to rendezvous with the Star Breaker and push deep into Valoran space. As Lila prepared to board her new command, the UES Thunderchild, she caught sight of Earth through a viewport. The blue marble hung there, peaceful and serene, blissfully unaware of the storm that was about to engulf the galaxy. "I hope we're ready for this," she muttered to herself as she shouldered her duffel bag. A gruff voice responded from behind her. "Ready or not, it's coming." It was Captain Jansen, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly in the dim light of the corridor. "The real question is, are they ready for us?" Lila allowed herself a small smile. "I guess we're about to find out." The Fall of the Valoran, Part 3, Preparing for War. The Sol system had transformed into a vast military-industrial complex. Shipyards that once produced civilian vessels now churned out warships at an unprecedented rate. The asteroid belt, usually a place of methodical mining operations, bristled with newly constructed defense platforms and munitions factories. Earth was gearing up for a conflict unlike any it had faced before. At the heart of this controlled chaos stood Admiral Helena Chen in the Strategic Command Center beneath Mount Cheyenne. Her steely gaze fixed on the holographic display of the Milky Way, where red markers indicated the last known position of the Valoran homeworld and the estimated locations of enemy forces. Blue markers showed the gathering strength of Earth's fleet and its potential allies. "Status report," Chen commanded, not taking her eyes off the display. Dr. Sarah Martinez, head of Earth's Advanced Research Division, stepped forward. "The Valoran data package has been a goldmine, Admiral. We've identified critical weaknesses in their attackers' shield harmonics. Our new quantum-tipped missiles should be able to penetrate their defenses, but..." She hesitated. "Speak freely, Doctor." "We're still outgunned, Admiral. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours in some areas. We can narrow the gap, but we can't close it entirely. Not in time." Chen's expression hardened. "Then we'll have to be smarter. More creative. It's what humans do best." She turned to Colonel James Wong, head of Special Operations. "What's the status of Operation Shadow Dance?" Wong's cybernetic hand projected additional data onto the display. "Our infiltration teams are in position across 3 sectors. The Sirius Confederation has agreed to provide cover for our intelligence operations. As for Project Phantom..." A slight smile crossed his face. "The prototypes exceeded expectations in field tests." The meeting continued as reports flooded in from across human space. In orbital shipyards, construction crews worked around the clock, their suits gleaming in the light of arc welders as they assembled the newest generation of human warships. The UES Prometheus, humanity's first dreadnought, was nearing completion, its massive frame casting shadows over the smaller vessels around it. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a classified facility known only as the Forge, Dr. Yuki Tanaka wiped sweat from her brow as she made final adjustments to the device before her. The Nexus project represented humanity's greatest technological leap since the discovery of FTL travel. Dr. Tanaka, her colleague Dr. Marcus Webb called out, "The quantum field stabilization tests are complete. It works." Yuki allowed herself a small smile. Theoretical success is better than nothing. Let's hope the Nexus device lives up to its potential when we need it most. In lunar orbit, Captain Lila Ortiz stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, overseeing final preparations. The ship hummed with energy, both from its advanced systems and from the palpable anticipation of its crew. The Thunderchild would lead the first strike, a daring mission deep into enemy territory. "Captain," her XO reported, "all systems are green. The task force reports ready status across the board." Lila nodded, her hand unconsciously touching the Valoran medallion she wore around her neck, a gift from a friend she hoped was still alive. "Send word to Fleet Command. Thunderchild Task Force is go for Operation Thunderbolt." In the shadowy world of intelligence operations, human agents were already infiltrating key systems across the galaxy. One such agent, codenamed Whisper, crouched in the maintenance ducts of a Galactic Council outpost. Her cybernetic implants allowed her to interface directly with the outpost systems, siphoning off data that could prove vital to Earth's war effort. "Jackpot," she whispered as she uncovered files detailing the Council's emergency protocols and command structure. This information could help Earth predict the Council's moves and exploit its weaknesses. Meanwhile, in laboratories and think tanks across human space, the best and brightest minds worked around the clock. They knew that humanity's survival depended on innovation, on finding ways to overcome their technological disadvantages. At the Cambridge Institute for Advanced Physics, young prodigy Alex Chen had just made a breakthrough in quantum entanglement communication. "It works," they exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement as the test results came in. "We can transmit instantly, regardless of distance. This could change everything." As these preparations continued, the people of Earth watched and waited. In cities and colonies across human space, citizens did their part to support the war effort. Factories were retooled to produce military equipment, volunteers signed up for service in droves, and a sense of unity pervaded human society like never before. The President of the United Earth Government addressed this spirit of solidarity in a historic speech: "My fellow citizens, we stand at the precipice of history. The challenges ahead are great, but so is our resolve. We go to war not for conquest or glory, but for the defense of our allies and the principles we hold dear. Every one of you has a role to play in this effort. Together, we will show the galaxy the true strength of humanity." Back aboard the Thunderchild, Captain Ortiz received the final authorization from Fleet Command. She took a deep breath, looking around at her crew, humans from all walks of life, united in purpose. "All hands, this is the captain speaking," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the ship. "We are about to embark on the most important mission in human history. Our goal is clear: to strike fast and hard, to gather intelligence, and to pave the way for the liberation of our Valoran allies. Some of us may not return, but know that our actions today will echo through history." The Thunderchild and its task force engaged their FTL drives, disappearing in a flash of light. They were the tip of the spear, the vanguard of humanity's response to a threat that sought to reshape the galaxy. As they hurtled through subspace towards Valoran territory, none aboard could know the full scope of the conflict they were about to ignite. But they went forward with determination, carrying with them the hopes of Earth and the last vestiges of Valoran civilization. The first battle of the war was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history would be written, one in which humanity would prove that it was a force to be reckoned with, a young species ready to challenge the established order of the cosmos. The Fall of the Valoran, Part 4, The First Strike. The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of light as the Thunderchild and its task force dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Valoran system. Captain Lila Ortiz's eyes narrowed as she took in the scene before her. The system, once a beacon of peace and prosperity, now bore the scars of invasion. Status report, Ortiz commanded, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the bridge. Multiple enemy signatures detected, Captain, Lieutenant Sarah Chen reported from the tactical station. 3 capital ships and approximately 24 support vessels in orbit around Vora Prime. They're stripping the planet, ma'am. Mining operations detected across all continents. Ortiz's jaw clenched. The enemy wasn't just conquering the Valoran homeworld, they were harvesting it. Any sign they've detected us? Negative, Captain. The quantum masking field is holding. We're invisible to their conventional sensors. Good. Signal the task force. Battle Formation Delta. And get me a secure channel to Admiral Chen. The holographic image of Admiral Helena Chen materialized on the bridge. Report, Captain. Admiral, we've arrived at the target system. Enemy forces are present but reduced from initial estimates. They appear to be conducting large-scale resource extraction operations. Chen's expression darkened. Confirmed what we suspected then. They're not just conquerors, they're parasites. Your orders remain unchanged, Captain. Hit them hard, gather what intelligence you can, and get out. The main fleet is still 48 hours behind you. Understood, Admiral. Thunderchild out. The hologram faded, and Ortiz turned to her crew. Battle stations. Execute Operation Thunderbolt. Throughout the ship, klaxons blared as crew members rushed to their positions. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Rodriguez made final adjustments to the experimental weapons systems. The quantum-tipped missiles, products of Earth's desperate innovation, sat ready in their launch tubes. Target the nearest capital ship, Ortiz ordered. All vessels, prepare to fire on my mark. The task force moved silently through space, their quantum masking fields concealing them from enemy sensors. 6 ships, the best Earth had to offer, against an enemy centuries more advanced. But they had surprise on their side, and human ingenuity. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Chen reported. Enemy shields are active but rotating on standard frequencies. They're not expecting us. Ortiz allowed herself a grim smile. Let's make this count. All ships, target designated weak points. Fire on my mark. She watched as the range counter ticked down, remembering all those who had fallen. For Earth and the Valoran, fire. Ortiz gripped her command chair, grief warring with duty. They'd known there would be losses, but knowing didn't make it easier. Continue the attack pattern. We're not done yet. The battle raged on, a testament to human determination against superior technology. The Thunderchild's task force fought with everything they had, their weapons finding weak points in enemy defenses, their tactics confounding the overconfident foe. But they were outnumbered and outgunned. After what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, Ortiz knew they had to make a decision. Status report, she demanded. 2 enemy capital ships destroyed, 1 heavily damaged, Chen replied. But we've lost the Defiant and the Intrepid. Phantom Squadron is down to 60% strength. The Nexus device is showing signs of instability. Ortiz nodded grimly. They'd accomplished their primary objective, proving that humanity could hurt these invaders. Now they needed to survive to deliver that intelligence back to Earth. Signal all ships. Begin withdrawal procedures. Phantom Squadron, covering action. Engineering, prepare for emergency FTL jump. As the task force began its fighting retreat, Ortiz allowed herself one last look at Vora Prime. The beautiful world was scarred but not destroyed. And now, for the first time since the invasion, its conquerors knew fear. "We'll be back," she whispered. "With everything we have." The Thunderchild and its remaining escorts vanished into FTL, leaving behind a graveyard of destroyed ships, both human and alien. They had bloodied the enemy's nose, gathered crucial combat data, and most importantly, proven that humanity's weapons could pierce their defenses. As they hurtled through subspace towards Earth, Ortiz recorded her after-action report. The data they'd gathered would be invaluable for the coming war. The enemy was powerful, yes, but not invincible. Their over-reliance on quantum technology had proven to be a weakness that humanity could exploit. The first strike was over. The real war was about to begin. Ortiz gripped her command chair, grief warring with duty. They'd known there would be losses, but knowing didn't make it easier. "Continue the attack pattern. We're not done yet." The battle raged on, a testament to human determination against superior technology. The Thunderchild's task force fought with everything they had, their weapons finding weak points in enemy defenses, their tactics confounding the overconfident foe. But they were outnumbered and outgunned. After what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, Ortiz knew they had to make a decision. "Status report," she demanded. "2 enemy capital ships destroyed, 1 heavily damaged," Chen replied. "But we've lost the Defiant and the Intrepid. Phantom Squadron is down to 60% strength. The Nexus device is showing signs of instability." Ortiz nodded grimly. They'd accomplished their primary objective, proving that humanity could hurt these invaders. Now they needed to survive to deliver that intelligence back to Earth. "Signal all ships. Begin withdrawal procedures. Phantom Squadron, covering action. Engineering, prepare for emergency FTL jump." As the task force began its fighting retreat, Ortiz allowed herself one last look at Vora Prime. The beautiful world was scarred but not destroyed. And now, for the first time since the invasion, its conquerors knew fear. "We'll be back," she whispered. "With everything we have." The Thunderchild and its remaining escorts vanished into FTL, leaving behind a graveyard of destroyed ships, both human and alien. They had bloodied the enemy's nose, gathered crucial combat data, and most importantly, proven that humanity's weapons could pierce their defenses. As they hurtled through subspace towards Earth, Ortiz recorded her after-action report. The data they'd gathered would be invaluable for the coming war. The enemy was powerful, yes, but not invincible. Their over-reliance on quantum technology had proven to be a weakness that humanity could exploit. The first strike was over. The real war was about to begin. But the enemy was far from defeated. A massive harvester dreadnought emerged from the planet's shadow, its hull crackling with strange energies. Before anyone could react, it fired a weapon that reduced 3 human cruisers to their component atoms. "New enemy weapon detected," Tactical screamed. "They're targeting the Prometheus." Chen's voice remained steady. "Execute Protocol Omega. Now." Deep within the Prometheus's engineering section, Dr. Yuki Tanaka initiated the sequence she'd spent years perfecting. The Nexus device, no longer just a disruptor but now a fully realized quantum weapon, powered up. "Quantum resonance cascade initiating," Tanaka reported. "Field stability at 90% and holding. Ready on your command, Admiral." Chen took a deep breath. "Fire." The Nexus weapon activated, sending out a wave of pure quantum energy that intersected with the Harvester's own quantum-based technology. The result was catastrophic. Enemy ships found their advanced systems not just disrupted but turned against them, their own power sources becoming their undoing. The massive Harvester dreadnought tried to fire its superweapon again, but the beam collapsed in on itself, creating a feedback loop that tore the massive ship apart from the inside. "Enemy fleet is in disarray," Ortiz reported. Ground forces reporting successful landings. The Valoran resistance is rising up across the planet. But victory came at a heavy price. The quantum cascade had affected human ships as well, though not as severely. Dozens of vessels drifted powerless, their crews fighting to restore basic systems. In the midst of the chaos, a new signal appeared, a transmission from the surface of Vora Prime. The holographic image that materialized on the Prometheus's bridge showed a sight few had dared hope for: High Chancellor Vex, alive though badly injured, surrounded by human and Valoran fighters. Admiral Chen, Vex's voice crackled with emotion. You actually came back for us. We made a promise, Chen replied simply. The Valoran stood with humanity when we were alone in the galaxy. We don't abandon our friends. The battle raged for hours more as human and allied forces systematically eliminated Harvester resistance. When the last enemy ship was finally destroyed or captured, an eerie silence fell over the system. The cost had been staggering. Thousands of human lives lost, dozens of ships destroyed. But Vora Prime was free, and with it came something even more valuable: hope. In the days that followed, as recovery operations began and the true scope of the victory became clear, the galaxy watched in amazement. Humanity, the upstart species that many had dismissed as primitive, had done what the Galactic Council could not, or would not, do. 1 month later, in the rebuilt halls of the Valoran High Council, Admiral Chen stood before a gathering of representatives from across the galaxy. The Galactic Council, shamed by their inaction, had been dissolved. In its place, a new alliance was forming, one based not on technological superiority or ancient traditions, but on mutual respect and a willingness to stand together against any threat. High Chancellor Vex, his carapace still bearing the scars of battle, addressed the assembly. From the ashes of our near extinction, a new order rises. The Harvesters believed that technological supremacy gave them the right to consume worlds at will. Humanity proved that the strength of a civilization lies not in its weapons, but in its heart, in its willingness to fight not just for itself, but for others. He turned to Admiral Chen. The Valoran will never forget what humanity did for us. Our worlds, our technologies, our future, all of it belongs to our alliance. Together, we will ensure that no species ever faces extinction alone again. Chen nodded solemnly. The galaxy is changing. The old ways of isolation and non-interference led us to the brink of disaster. It's time for something new, an alliance of equals, where every voice is heard, and every member stands ready to defend the others. As the new Galactic Alliance took its first steps, ships from Earth continued to patrol the stars. The Harvesters had been defeated but not destroyed, their remnants still lurked in the dark spaces between stars. But they no longer inspired fear, for they had taught the galaxy a valuable lesson: no species, no matter how advanced, was invincible. Aboard the Thunderchild, now repaired and upgraded with Valoran technology, Captain Ortiz prepared for another patrol. The Valoran medallion still hung around her neck, no longer a reminder of loss but a symbol of friendship forged in fire. "Course laid in, Captain," her helmsman reported. "Where to?" Ortiz smiled, looking out at the stars that no longer seemed quite so distant or cold. "Everywhere," she replied. "We have a galaxy to protect." The fall of the Valoran had indeed marked the end of an era. But from that ending came a new beginning, one where humanity's compassion proved as powerful as any weapon, and where the combined strength of united species promised a future brighter than any single civilization could achieve alone. The stars beckoned, and humanity, together with its allies, answered their call.